this is a little frustrating and embarrassing and disappointing. All those three things at the same time. So let's go take a look. What are we doing today? Well, we're back on the 50s. Recap, it's running. It's got a new fuel tank. It's running off of its own fuel. The cooling system is done. New radiator, water pump, hoses, all that good stuff. Rebuilt carburetor, fuel pump. So it'll run as long as you want it to run, and it'll run fantastically. However, we can't drive it yet because it's got this many brakes. So we've got a pile, and I mean a pile of stuff from various places. A little bit from the Irish, a bunch from the Rock Hard Auto. We've got hoses, wheel cylinders, a master cylinder, wheel seals, and shoes. We're doing all the brakes on this guy. Should be four-wheel drum brakes, of course. On this one, though, I believe I'm positives. Well, come on now. Hang on, let me get you down here. You got a pull, or what are we doing? There we go. Yeah. The master cylinder on these rigs is down under the floor here. It's like it's under here somewhere, right there. It's right there, that thing. So it ain't gonna be fun, but we'll get to it. We may do all four wheels and then we'll roll it up onto the lift to do the master cylinder, just because it'll be easier that way. We'll see though. We'll crawl around and roll around under there and see what happens. But for now, we've got the front end up in the air. I got to get some stands under it. We'll get these front wheels and tires off and show you where we're at. Okay, wheel and tire off, and you've heard me say it in the previous videos on this car, but look how this is, how packed in this whole car is, underside anyway, with mud and petrified clay and dirt. This whole lower A-arm, all this should be hollow, or a bucket down to here, and it's full up to the brim with dirt. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it is just a little bit concerning. Over here is even a little more significant. Look at that bad ride, just caked. It's just everywhere. This is the steering gear here, and then brake master is going to be back in there. These hoses, and we got new hoses, and we are going to replace. I don't care what these look like, and they actually look pretty good, but we know this car has sat for 50 some years, and it's all getting replaced. We got to chip away at the mud here, get some PB soaking on that connection and some of this stuff. We'll go ahead. Of course, these drums are integrated to the wheel hub, so we got a spindle nut and bearings we got to take out, take the whole hub off. Now I'm feeling pretty confident. We got a little bit of a drag here, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to pull these drums off without, you know, fighting too much. The other side, you know, this thing rolls really nice, so we've got a little bit of a drag here too. In fact, oh, this could be bad, guys. I think we've got a drum that's split right in half. Look at that. I've never seen that before. That's crazy. We've got a split brake drum. Yeah, it's supposed to all turn together. Well, shoot, we need a hub and drum then. Well, just when you thought your pile of parts was a big enough pile of parts, it ain't. We need a hub drum assembly, and apparently they're a little difficult to come by. But we do have a friend that's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from here that does just happen to have a bunch of old cars. And we're gonna roll the dice and head there tomorrow. We need a couple other things for the Deluxe. We need a passenger window, we need a rear bumper, at least the center section, and maybe some trim, and maybe a horn ring for the steering wheel would be really nice. So we're gonna load up some tools tomorrow and go scrounge around his place, and hopefully we'll find what we need. Stay tuned, we'll see you when we get back with parts. A few days later, alert, we scored some parts. We're back on the 50 Chevy. The good news is we found one. We went to a local dude, he's a really nice guy, treats us fair, and he's got, Rudy's his name, Zach Rudy is his name, Rudy's Classic Auto. If you need something for old stuff, contact that guy. Anywho, we went and scrounged, and yeah, he had a 50 Chevy two-door. It was actually the same darn color, and we got some parts. We got the brake drum and the hub, so that's cool, plus wheel bearings, so we've got some spare parts even. And then we've been eyeballing and looking for a bumper for a while, because, you know, we had the Farm Action accessory there, but out at Zach's we found that guy. It ain't perfect, but it's all in one piece. It's got the center pieces and it's got the bumperettes. They're a little dinged up, but that's going to look much better than that. So we'll do that in a future video. But for now, I really want to get all the brakes sorted out on this thing and get it, you know, half a step closer to actually motoring down that there gravel road out there. So thanks for watching along, clicking and liking, subscribe. That would help us out. It doesn't cost anything for you to subscribe or, you know, click the bell and stuff. You just need, I think, a Gmail account. So go ahead and do that. And we're gonna get this drum and hub off of here. We'll get on the bench and then we'll show you that brake up close and personals. Well, here you go. There's the outer part of the brake drum. Here's, those bearings are gonna fall out, but here's the inner part of the brake drum. And now let's go over here, make sure that the hub and drum we got. Yeah, buddy. That's a pretty cool brake. I mean, just never seen that. And I don't know how long. It looks like maybe that happened after it was parked, because if you look down in here, the brake shoe wear is pretty even. Maybe just a hair more on the outside of that shoe, but from about here out is the only part that was spinning with the hub and would have been having any kind of brake. So this guy, we've got one spring here holding them together at the top, and then it looks like they just slide into here, there's no pins and circular, you know, springies. We've got these down here, but they only go to this. We've got kind of this, you know, erector set bracketry, and then I think the only thing that locates the shoes, centers them, is this pin. And initially, and it's connected, so you got this bracketry here, and initially it looks like you got to find a way to get these 4 bolts out, and they're all cotter keyed on the back, and they're all covered in dirt and mud and, you know, 70 years of not coming off. But then you look underneath here and there's this little slip washer on the back of this pin, and we'll have to bend it flat again, but this slides up and then this little doohickey snaps back over that pin. So we were able to pop him off. We'll pull this pin out, vice grip this spring off of here, and those shoes should come right off. See how nice this spring wants to be. Oh, beautiful. There we go. Just as we suspected. Yeah. We'll clean him up. And then, I mean, this might be the easiest brake drum job ever. What if we do slide this guy out? There's that. Sorry about that. Mackie must have had a bad dream laying out in the shade. He woke up and started barking at the shop. I mean, just not at me. He was laying way over by the house. He just staring at the shop barking. So, you know, dog stings. And looky here. We're going to come right off. Beautiful. My goodness, so far, so easy. Now, wheel cylinder wise, we could be up against it here. We've got, this isn't a connector going through. I looked at the new one, I cheated a little bit, but we've got 2 bolts in the, well, they might not be too bad to get to anyway. And then the brake line back here, we already soaked it once, we're gonna soak it again. And yeah, you won't be able to see this. Let me get this off and then I'll show you what we're talking about. For making gains, we just wire brushed the backing plate here and rinsed her down with brake cleaner. New wheel cylinder is in, new brake line is in. Now, we were stuck here, and my trick, the trick I like to use is, let me show you. You just leave the hose attached to the wheel cylinder. This is going to be no fun all day and night long. And then what you do is you snip it right after the metal part to the hard brake line on the frame. And then as long as you can get the hard line to break free of the hose hard side, you can just spin this whole, because you'll be only that long, you just spin this off. Then once this is gone, you're left with just this, but this nut is still seized to the hard line. So that's when I get out the MAP gas and I put a whole bunch of heat just into the nut and the PB blaster, and then usually we can break that nut free and get it to spin again, and life is good. Then going back together, it's just wheel cylinder brake line, and then you can connect this normally. So that's kind of back together, and let's get you a closer look at these washers. So front brake shoe, rear brake shoe, and he got Uncle Carl, he got all the use out of these brakes. But here's that, let me get a screwdriver. Here's that slide retainer washer. The same thing as down here. Just take this bad ride, pop them up over. Give me a little tippy tap, and it comes off like that. And then when we go back together, we'll slide it back on there and tippy tap down, and it'll be good to go. This is going to be super simple. All right, we got our donor, hub, and drum over here. We should be able to, there's our inner race. One thing now on these old cars, these have actual ball bearings in them. See down in there? They're actual ball bearings. So you don't want to go running around swapping out races and bearings. We have the original factory inner race. We're going to leave that over here because it's matched to the ball bearings that are in that hub with the broken drum. So we're taking our donor race. Irish parts store actually had these wheel seals 1 day away. So we got those. They're felt in here. No rubber lip. So we got those. We're ready to go there. We're going to pop this one out. Like so. Take our needles out and then leave our inner race in there. Throw this in the trash. Oh yeah, that inner race looks really nice. We're gonna be in good shape. So we're gonna take this whole thing over to the parts washer, wash it out. We'll wash these bearings out, then we'll give them a little bit of a hand pack with some grease, and life will be good. Alright, we're pretty well cleaned up. Now we just got to take some red grease. We're just going to hand pack it down in between these ball bearings. And we'll take a big schmoo and go in on the race. And get that all greased up. And we'll schmoo the outside of the ball bearings. There. Now, in you go. Now we need a rag. And we'll take a new inner race for the inner bearing. We got to do this now. I mean, it stayed on the spindle on the car, the old one did. But that's because the wheel seal was, 70 years old or whatever. Probably not quite that because it's probably had brakes. But then we set him in there. Then on these seals, it'll have a number stamped in it. There it is. It'll go outside. And the seal actually seals to the inner bearing race, not to the spindle, like you see on the newer cars. Super cool. Now before we get too excited about putting grease on the front bearings and lubing all that side up, we're going to go back down here to the car, and yeah, you can see that. And I've already done this to save you guys a lot of boring, on and off stuff, but slide this on here, and you can do this on this particular car with just the back bearing in. And what we're looking for here is some touching of the brake shoes. So we've got that. And I say that because when we first put these wheel cylinders on here, these were all the way backed up into here, and it's like 3/8 of an inch, on each side. You got to turn them opposite directions and move them out evenly so they spread out together. But and then once you get that little bit of drag, then you're good. The rest you can do from the back side. The little metal plugs on the back of the backing plate that you have to pop out in order to adjust them from back there will be a lot easier to get out now, especially after 70 years. We'll pop those guys out from this side, and then all we got to do once we get the final adjustment is push them back in. So now we're pretty much set up. We're going to go ahead, throw the outer bearing in, and tighten down our spindle for the last time on this side. Should be. Then we'll go do the other side, and then we'll meet you. I'm kind of debating. I might, because it's going to stink, and I like just getting the hard part of jobs out of the way. We might do the master cylinder before we do the rears. We'll decide. It'll be a surprise. We'll see you on the next clip here. Well, you remember when I was saying, I'd never seen a drum split, lengthwise like that. Must be pretty unusual. Well, how unusual is it for the brake drum on a 50 Chevy to split in one of those grooves? Well, apparently it happens more often than I know about. I should have checked it, guys and gals. That was my bad. I just didn't think it was a normal thing to have happen. And we didn't get two, we just got one. So one of these days we're gonna have to go back to Zach's and snag another drum and hub. So we're on hold again. I apologize. This is a little frustrating and embarrassing and disappointing, all those three things at the same time. So anywho, let's see what else we can get done. One more there. I think there. This is wheat pole in case that axle seal starts leaking, I think. Whoa! Huh. Was that even 3 tippy taps? Hippy skippy. Came right off. Now we can get a good look at this drum. Boy, this guy's light. There ain't a whole lot left here, but it's the back drum, so I'm not too worried. There's no big grooves in it or nothing, though. Well, golly. Looks like the same basic brake setup. I can tell you right now, we don't have the right wheel cylinders. So, yeah, Rock Hard Auto strikes again. They listed this as a rear wheel cylinder, and I mean, it's different from the front, but it is the same darn style with the adjusters right at the wheel cylinder. And yeah, this might bolt in here, but it ain't gonna work. So we got our front wheel cylinders because we knew those were unique. We got those from 40s and 50s Chevy website. I'd have to go look, but I'll put it in here somewhere. Shoot, well, we got the drum off. We're gonna go rattle on the other side, get that drum off or loose, and then we're gonna order wheel cylinders. We have shoes. They do look to be the same. I'll verify that, and then we'll wait a few days. Long pause is what we're gonna call this. Weeks later alert. I don't know, it's been a minute or two, but we're back on the 50 and we're doing brakes now. On the front, to kind of recap, we had a split drum on the passenger side, and I thought, wow, that never happens, never seen that before, blah 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 blah. Go to the driver's side, it's split too. So we had to go back out to Rudy's Classic Auto in what does it go by, Giltner, Nebraska, something like that. And grab, we already grabbed one off of a donor car he had out there for the passenger side. We went back out and grabbed the driver's side drum and hub assembly, and I already did the brakes on here because we already showed you on the one side. So front drivers is done here, and then I also did driver's rear. We haven't shown you that yet. I'm going to show you here on the passenger side. Our problem there last time was we didn't have the Rock Hard Auto sent us, I don't know, like wheel cylinders for a Toyota Celica or something, but they weren't even close. So we had to go to I'll put a link in here, Chevys of the 40s and 50s or something like that. They're a little more price taggy, but they're correct, and we've already verified that. I've already, you know, we got one side done. So I'm gonna stick you guys onto the tripod here, and let's get back into this. It shouldn't be too awfully bad. The other side wasn't too bad. There is an extra fitting on the wheel cylinder that we'll kind of show you when we get in there. These shoes are ready to go. They're pretty thin. The back one's not too bad, but the front's down. We're down to about 1/16 of an inch, but just full of stuff and gunk and things and critters and whatever else. So let's start. I'm making a big old dust cloud. Okay. One thing we did notice is our new wheel cylinders, and I'll show you when we get this one off so we can show you on the bench. They're just a little bit narrower here. And so we had to adjust out quite a bit with the whole, you know, push pin thingies in order to get things set up. But they're not out of spec or anything. It's just a little bit of difference than way back when. There is a paper shim gasket on this hub. Cool. All right. Maybe these drums have never been done. It's entirely possible, but I'm thinking kind of unlikely. All right, so these springs are stretched pretty good. A little bit, it's similar setup, but also different setup than the front. So, still have the pins and this and that and the others, but we do have park brake hardware here that pins up here, and then there's a voltage right here, and that reminds me, we better spritz that guy now. Luckily there's a hex head on the back that we can get to. Okay, don't need that where we're going. Now, if you remember, there's those little washers that have a lip on them that catch, and we got to get to the back side of here and get that little washer out. I am going to shut you guys down for a second while I do that, because I'm just going to be all up in here. There's our washer. Really simple retainer. Thank goodness for that. Now we should be able to take our vice grips, get onto this pin. Oh, come on. There we go. This guy can just come off. There to the front. Oh, there's my springy. Oh. So this guy goes in the back shoe, and then springy, kind of like the newer style drum shoes. Comes up and catches. Oh, sorry. In like this, comes up and catches this arm for the park brake. And now here, what we've got a bolt, a shoulder bolt that holds this park brake arm on this side. Not too bad. On the driver's side, believe it or not, there was brake fluid in the wheel cylinder, and it didn't even look horrible. I mean, not too shabby at all. Not a lot of it, but there was moisture and it wasn't water. Now the wheel cylinders are all, of course, seized and everything, but there was some actual brake fluid in there, and it wasn't just like mud. Okay, so now here we are back to what we've done before. We've got more of these keeper washers here and here. We're gonna take all those apart. I'm gonna take all these little pieces and shine them up a little bit. We'll go ahead and put stuff together, and then I'll come back and we'll just reassemble. By the way, still for sale on Marketplace in central Nebraska, the 91 Sunbird convertible. Only 90,000 miles on that bad ride. All ready to rock and roll. It's winter time now, but anywho, I got you under here. This is a good example of just how muddy this farm car is. Anywhere where there's, you know, traction involved. We got to get to the wheel cylinder that's up here, and we're just gonna have to, yeah, take that off. That's not factory. That's Mother Nature accessorized that. But now we can get to our brake line. We need to soak this bad right. And then we got our bleeder screw, which we're not even messing with, thank goodness. And we've got this more crop, you know, topsoil. And we got our, so there's like a not a T-fitting, but a bulkhead fitting almost. That has a through bolt that's drilled, copper washer, and then our flared line is right here. Now, so far, knock on rusty metal, we haven't had a bolt break, and we haven't had a brake line twist on us yet. So while I'm redoing the brake shoes and switching stuff over to the new shoes, I'm gonna PB blaster about 3 cans worth anyway on here, and hopefully all this will come loose when we come back behind here. Well, I jinxed myself. Of course I did. When I said knock on rusty metal, we haven't had any lines stuck or twist off or anything like that. Well, this one right here ain't coming out, and it's rounding off and this and that and the other. But luckily I laid on the creeper and stared at it cross-eyed long enough that I realized, you know, I started figuring out how can we isolate these two fittings, and I'll get a wrench on this and a wrench on that, and to do that we take out the banjo bolt. And I took out the banjo bolt, and I'm like, what? It's like, you know, I don't even have to take that fitting off, this line fitting. Or just put the new wheel cylinder in, throw the banjo bolt back in, and we're golden. Goodness. So we're still batting 100, 1,000. We're still doing okay. Okay, we skipped ahead just a bit. The fitting plan worked out tremendously on the back. We just had to put that banjo bolt in. We bolted up the wheel cylinder first, then the banjo bolt, then the bleeder. And you know, even though we got these from a local US company, it's a 10mm bleeder screw, but it is what it is. Otherwise, like we say, we've got park brake actuating rod. It's pinned to the front shoe here with a cotter key, and then back here we've got the springy and the fork foot, kind of like we see on later model drum brakes. One big spring across the top. You really got to stretch that out. And then here's what we're also talking about. We've probably got 5 or 6 rounds out on these actuator pins to get them to where we've got pressure on the shoes and everything else. Pins down here, you've seen all that coming apart. It's just the opposite. We cleaned everything up with some brake clean, and now we got to test fit our drum. So what we're gonna do, and on these old rides, you've got a pin that pokes in between 2 of the lugs, and that corresponds with the hole in the axle flange. So we're gonna go here. Ooh, we got a little bit of draggage already. I think we're gonna go a little more. So for the front, we're going up. Well, come on. For the back shoe, we're going down. Try it again. Yeah. I like it. You can kind of hear that sound. And then it just, if you're pushing here, it just takes, you know, it's not, it's hard to say. I mean, like, I don't know, 5-7 pounds of resistance, something like that. We're golden though. We're gonna toss the wheel tire back on here. It's late in the days, so tomorrow, master cylinder. And to do that, we're gonna have to unearth the old master cylinder, and the hoist is taken up at the moment. So tomorrow we're gonna put her back up in the air, get under here, get all dirty, hopefully get a master cylinder installed, and we might be driving Uncle Carl down the road tomorrow afternoon. It is the next day alerts. I don't have any super exciting video for you because I knew what I was getting into and it wouldn't have been any fun. There's no way, I mean, there's no room under there. We're not on the hoist. We got her jacked up in the air because, again, the Saratoga's taking up the hoist, waiting for a fuel tank. But this pile, and for reference, that's my size 12. So that big pile of fossilified dirt, and this big pile of fossilified dirt is what we had to knock out from under this thing just to get access to and the brake lines to the master cylinder. But slowly but surely we got it off of here, and it is on the bench, and it is as gross on the inside as it looks on the outside. But there's a couple things I'll backtrack for you and go over, because there's a couple little tricks. First of all, the linkages for the clutch and the brake go through these pins, go through these holes in the front of the master cylinder. It goes in the car like hell. And then you got to get these out in order to get this guy out, right? So there's no retainers on the outside of these pins, but they're grooved. In the front side of the master cylinder, there's a plug, and there was a grease zerk where this yellow cap is. We'll have to replace that. But behind that plug, there is a keeper plug. I don't know what you would call it, but see how it's squared top and bottom? It slides in here like here, and then that groove, or that keyway, slides into here, and that's how both of these are retained. One in that hole, one in that hole, and then you can squirt grease in there. Kind of a neat design. Too bad it's freaking underneath the car. So that's interesting. Let's see, the only other thing, oh, these bolt on to, these have linkage attachments at the top that are hard bolted on, so you have to take them off top and bottom. You can't just slide it out because of the hard bolt up here. But then they come out and you can weasel them out of there without too much trouble. The other thing, again, ours had a line coming out the back and a line coming out towards the driver's side. So this through fitting and this banjo bolt came from the old one to the new one. We got one new copper washer, and we're reusing one new copper washer. And then this one, I'm guessing, you know, these master cylinders probably fit a couple different cars. So we had a pressure port here that's 1/8 inch pipe, and probably for like a brake light switch, but they give you the plug for that in with this master. So here's the lid, kind of self-explanatory, nice and clean. You can't see in there, but you gotta take my word for it. So just like that, and by just like that I mean, you know, 4 hours later, we are ready to go back in. And I'm not going to give you the play-by-play video because it's just not going to be any fun. Even though we got the big chunks of dirt out of there, I'm going to be swallowing dirt for the next 3 hours or so, putting this back together. Hopefully not. Hopefully 2. 2 would be nice. Okay, so 45 minutes. Not bad at all, but here's why I didn't bring you with me. Yeah, it was a dirty deal, but going back together, much better for once than coming apart. Let's roll under there and we'll show you, now that it's all back together, here's the mess that we laid in. It doesn't look too bad on your camera, darn it. It was not fun, but that is where, where the master cylinder lives. And then here's your clutch, brake linkage this side, clutch linkage that side. That's that plug bolt or plug, and then behind it is that cam or that keyway plug that keeps this big pin and the other big pin that's above it from coming out. Then we got the springs, you got the actual brake leverage, you got clutch leverage. We took this guy off, and then let's see, new greaser in there. And on the back, that's where your brake lines hook up. And now to put this into your perspectives, this was full of dirt up to about here. So yeah, no, it's not anyways. So we're pretty happy. The actual floor hole is right here. It lines up all that good stuff. And the plug was still in it. So we're ready. Well, we thought we were. And there went my light. Of course. We thought we were ready to dump some fluid in this. And then we came over here looking at some of the brake lines. I'll see if I can get some light just for a second. This guy got caught on something and then got smushered up underneath the frame. So we're going to take this one. It goes from here to about, up there where it gets to the rubber hose connection for the passenger front. We're going to build a new line for that. And then tomorrow, we should be able to put some fluid in here and start bleeding. And maybe even take this rig for a spin. Okay, I got a little excited and put Uncle Carl, that is, on the ground. I did build the brake line, and you're not, you can see a little bit of it right there, right back in there. That's built. We went in, bled the brakes. We used our little air vacuum bleeder, and then a little bit of manual bleeding. One of the biggest things on drum, when you got drum brakes all the way around, especially early drums, is get those shoes adjusted. We had to adjust, we got them pretty good going together, and then we had to snug them all up so they got just a little bit of drag on them. But now let's go over. I got her ready to rock, you guys. I've got the Aurora Husky Stadium seat upholstered in here, nice and semi-permanently mounted. But check out this brake pedal right. That's brakes right there. Yeah, buddy. Now, we hope the clutch works. We don't know that for sure yet, but we're going to toss a battery in this thing. And just maybe, in the first time in almost 55 years, Uncle Carl's going to be cruising the county roads here in just a few minutes. Yeah, we got clutch, we got brakes galore, at least it feels like it. Let's bring it. Well, we can't go far because we know it's not charging, but let's we're gonna roll with it, man. I better bring my phone. I gotta do a short video for the customer here. All right, listen to this thing purr. Hopefully the door stays shut. We'll put you guys, where do you, I don't know where to put you guys. What if we go right back? Yeah. Oh, that ain't bad. All right. Here we go. The throttle linkage is a little goofy, but we won't use much of that this first drive. All the way up is reverse. A little shuddery on the clutch, but it hasn't driven over 50 years. This is outstanding. Brakes? Oh, we got great brakes. Okay, down should be first. Here we go. Woo! No speedometer. I can't tell if the oil pressure works or not. That's first. Second. The odometer works, but the speedometer doesn't. Is that? Forgotten in a barn since 1971. Finally got it running and driving. Bonus, we aren't gonna touch the clutch for right now. Hey, thanks for staying patient with us on this one. This took a little bit of doing, but well worth it. I I'll admit, I wasn't the biggest fan of Uncle Carl at first, but my golly, I have fallen in love with this car. We're gonna finish it up. It's gonna be great. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.